Welcome back. Hope you have enjoyed this session so far. Over the next 45 minutes, we have focused on open innovation. We have with us Mr. Natraj Kuntagur. He is a VP at Accenture Technology Labs. His main focus is to spot emerging trends, incubate and accelerate the market introduction of novel smart digital services by co-creating with startups, internal business units and clients. We have over 23 years of technology management experience spanning companies like Motorola, Infosys Labs, Accenture Technology Labs, and as an entrepreneur in digital health. Mr. Natraj will share with us his thoughts on open innovation and tech forward. We also have with us Mr. Vishnu. Mr. Vishnu is from Nokia Silicon Office and has over 20 years of experience. In addition to the wireless related research activities at Nokia, he works closely with various educational institutions on collaboratively creating technology products. Today, he will share the operational challenges that exist in any such corporate research collaboration. We also have with us Mr. Pradeep. Mr. Pradeep is an ardent startup enthusiast with more than 20 years of experience. Currently, he heads the ecosystem development activities at different open startups. As Mr. Bharadwaj can also travel at short notice in Europe, Mr. Bharadwaj will share his thoughts on how researchers, startup entrepreneurs, and corporate customers could come together to build the future.
Good afternoon. So what I thought was I asked to talk about open innovation, and open innovation is such a large topic, and in 10 minutes, crunching that seems to be a task by itself. So I was trying to figure out what is that which can resonate with an audience. So I thought about the age of fan. It looks very apt. So what is the age of fan? Let me talk about that. So I think so if it is to Bangalore traffic, you can actually, there are many signals, signals where you see green light and red light on. So if you want, so we are faced with this the dilemma, and actually there are contradictions. And if you look at my personal life, and I'm like the father of a teenager, and I face these contradictions every day. So you have this, I want this, I want that, and then you figure out when they have this or that. Or I will say, okay, then he will say, no, I want this and that. So the teenagers are very savvy in that, and what corporators figure out is that using the and seems to be the way forward to make, to drive through these, how do you take care of these different ways of, the paradoxes, how do you reduce paradox, and that what I've done is trying to distill that into open innovation, how it affects the way corporate itself make around this. So this is the mental model. Typically, when a startup comes to meet a corporate, this is what it actually happens. So I can actually tell you the story. Like I really remember this when there was a young startup which was supposed to meet us, and this startup had a very neat technology as a service model in mobile security scanning, and they said they want to meet us, and we were sitting. Imagine this: we were sitting in a large corporate tower, 6th floor, with all suits in the boardroom, which had a large video wall. And these startup poor guys, they were coming up. They had to go through multiple levels of security. Then finally they were ushered in. And when they came in, they were already frazzled about the bureaucratic process of a corporate. They were looking like this, and we were looking like that because the startup's software was supposed to replace a large practice we had. So they said, no, we don't need this practice. So the mental model which we had built up was, like I'm a big guy, what do you know? And even though I was trained, I was looking at this startup guys and I was thinking like, oh, these are t-shirts, what can they do? I mean, they were so young. And also, what was going through my mind, I was ashamed to admit that, but I was trying to figure out what they were born when I graduated. And then I figured out that none of them were born by the way. So this is how the typical open innovation first interaction starts up, when startup goes to a corporate. And it's not that it's our own, experience. So we did a survey, I think we had a large event in Turkey where it's an open innovation event, where we asked the startups, like, how do you think, what is the interaction of working with large companies? 51% said it's okay, and mostly what they're saying is that it was actually a bad experience. Then we talked to the startup CEO founders and said, the corporate founders, all the decision makers, say, what was your experience? And any guess? 71% said it's perfect, no, like it's ultimate, like we know what it is. So what we figured out was that there's a big mismatch in expectations of what a startup is looking for, what a corporate is looking for, and it starts out right at the point when they meet. And this is where this gives rise to so many failed startup and the corporate interaction itself. So this is the foundation where we started off. Now, as I was talking about, like this is a paradox. If you look at a startup, what does startup signify? Startup typically signifies a couple of things. So one of them is that so they're high risk. Startups typically are high risk. They are high change velocity. They want to disrupt the current market, and then they're looking at delayed economic value. They're not looking at immediate thing, but they want to do something which is delayed economic value. Come to corporates, they're built on predictability. They're built for low risk. No, they don't make changes. And also, also they're looking at immediate economic value. So if you come to them and say, I will do something in the next 2 years, you do it, and they say, no, what's happening to the quarter? So this is where we have this fundamental difference where you have corporates and startups coming together, and this is, so if you say I want this or that, which we call as the scarcity mentality. That's what they try to limit. Either you can have this or then it's a win-lose kind of situation. So when you think about it as this and that, it opens up the abundance mentality. So this is more like let's work together to achieve a common goal. Even though I recognize your problems and my constraints. So we say embrace this paradox is what has happened, and when we embrace this paradox, typically our clients tell us that I want to work with this coolest startup in this field and I want stability. So we keep getting this. We have something like 140 different industry verticals, different things, and most of the clients who come and talk to us want this kind of paradox. They said I want this and that. Nobody said I want this or that. So when we came to that kind of a situation, what we did was that see, open innovation can be doing multiple. You can have incubators, you can have accelerators, you can have so many things. There are multiple ways of doing the same thing. So what we said was that what actually works for us has been something called the bridge maker. So what does the bridge maker do? So he's looking at startups in one domain, he's looking at the global 2,000 companies in another, and he's trying to act like a bridge between two cultures, bridge between. So this is basically the end. And if you look at how, it looks like very similar. Startup walks into a corporate and corporate says, okay, let's work together. It never happens. So internally, we have something like research, ventures, labs, studios. Studios is something where you go in and then you can get a design done in a day. And the innovation centers and delivery centers, what they actually do is that they're actually instantiating this ant culture. So the whole organization of open innovation has been built with this ant culture. So as you can figure out, when a startup goes to a corporate and says this corporate sucks, it doesn't work, it's too big. What is actually happening is all these things. So most of the corporates may not have this, some of them may have this, some of them have parts of this, but unless you have the whole thing where you de-risk, deploy at scale, these things don't typically sustain. So one of the concepts I just want to leave with you is that the concept and being a bridge maker. Being a bridge maker is very helpful when you guide. So clients are looking at something called guided disruption, which is look itself as an oxymoron. You guided what disruption. So guided disruption is what they're looking for, and this kind of thing actually helps you do that. So this comes through again something like profit or social good. I'm going to mesh that with tech for good. So typically the mentality has is profit or CSR. CSR is something which you do on the side, like something like that, which because government mandates now 2%. So you do something in CSR. Now what we are figuring out more and more is that there is this conscious capitalism coming up where it's profit and social good. So this again opens up a new type of activity. What does it mean? So if you look at profit and social good, so people are looking at. So if you look at AT&T, for example, what AT&T has done is that in the last year they opened up one of the biggest B2B campaigns called the Power of And, where they talk about how they can be open and secure, how they can be local and global, how they can be here and everywhere. I think some of the terms they had, which is very nice, sprint and precision. So some of these things, big corporations are taking up to handle both these things. And one of the things I added to the mix was profit and social good. So why is it so important? Let me bring to that. One is that people are aware of the branding. So now people think that if you're socially relevant organization, socially conscious organization, genuinely wants to work in that. Or because the customers seem to want to buy from a socially relevant organization. So branding is one aspect of it, but what others don't say is that actually tech for good is actually good for business. Why is that? Let me explain to that. So I think most of you have seen this curve. If you look at the curve here, the blue line is what typical corporates do, which is incremental innovation. You keep doing something and you get better and better and better. And the other one is hockey stick, which people are afraid of. Now if you look at corporates, there's so much afraid of. Somebody can go and typically the competence seems to be always somebody banking guys used to be worried over to some other bank taking them over, something like that. Now it's you heard stories of there are stories of Ubers and others and whatnot happening. The other thing that is happening is that people are worried about experiential, competitors. You experience certain things in a domain, and then you want that same thing to happen in a different domain. So, example, you have this. What happened for when you get the SIM card from a million client onboarding happening in the region geo, isn't it? So people are very now they're experienced to that. No, I go there and I can get a SIM in 3 minutes. So my son went and actually got a SIM, and he said no, and he doesn't want to buy SIM from anywhere because it's so simple. Go there and then his eKYC is done and end of story. So I was talking to one of the idea guys, the idea and the Vodafone merchant. So he was scribbling saying, no, I hired 150 guys who used to do the eKYC, they're all gone. So now, and then people are saying that if somebody experiencing that, the same thing wants to experience in his or whatever his domain. So that is what is happening now. So if you look at this, something called effective pay, where this is something very interesting. This is at a time with tech for good. So what is tech for good? Tech for good typically works on a very difficult social problem, and social problems are multidimensional. So they are very hard to crack and they are very wicked. So the idea here is that you want to work with startups which are the technology may not be mature, but you work with them, you try to understand the technology, you try to solve a problem which is societal in nature. When you do that, you are actually improving on the way, and you are actually also on this curve. So you are becoming familiar with the technology, and when it becomes this path, you are actually very well entrenched so that you can also scale up whenever the technology improves drastically. Yeah, as in the case now, like if you look at what's happening in the image recognition, etc. Now, it's actually after deep learning coming up, it's actually scaled up big time, and if people who are not conscious about that, then they're left behind. So tech for good is being used as a mechanism to increase the growth engine, so that you can actually work on difficult problems here, and also that space allows you to experiment. Nobody is going to come and kill you if you fail, but you fail and you fail rapidly, and then you can actually improve. And so that is the reason where the companies are looking at open innovation on one side, tech for good on the other side, and combining them together and see that as a competitive advantage. So I think in the morning you heard about Akshaya Patra. So let me talk about an Akshaya Patra story here. I'll show you a 2-minute video. Before that, let me talk about so this is a double diamond, which is, okay, forget about double diamond. This is where design thinking comes up. This is where I see corporates and like the open innovators and the academic can actually. So there is a problem. There is a problem definition. So typically the idea is that you actually explore a lot of problem ideas here. This is where you could work with technology startups. You could work with corporates. You could work with like research institutes. You define a problem. Then again you branch up. So these are the two areas where we find that there is a lot of innovations for companies to come together. Companies, research institutes, as well as even the employees, clients, etc. So what I'm trying to say is that if you use the word and opens more doors than but. And Akshaya Patra is one of the greatest stories I think you heard today. And here we talk about how we use that in a video here. I think it's 2-minute video.
India is the second most populous country in the world, with a population of over 1.2 billion people. It is also one of the fastest growing economies and has the youngest workforce in the world. But at the same time, India is currently ranked the 97th out of the 18 countries on the Global Hunger Index. Every year, the Indian spends for combating malnutrition, with every year 3,000 children dying in India due to hunger. Akshaya Patra, one of the world's largest NGOs, has been at the forefront of addressing this epidemic in India. Through the Tech for Good initiative by Accenture Labs, we act as state multi-financial organizations that work for the greater good of society. With this focus, We are helping Akshaya Patra expand its reach and help them feed more children across the country. Akshaya Patra is a very full program with a mission that no child in India will be deprived of education because of hunger. We are currently feeding 1.5 million children in almost 13 million schools in the country. Our country has many problems. There are one end we have growth happening, the mid-dollar. The other end we have 30% of all malnourished children are based in India. So we are trying to tackle this. So a child will get a healthy meal, will come to school and get a good education. So this means we will see government schools and government-aided schools. Akshaya Patra has served over 2 billion meals since the populations began in the year 2000. Three-pronged technology-led solution aims to help Akshaya Patra maximize their output so that they can not only realize their vision but exceed it. Our Tech for Good initiative is focused on doing more with less, extending cutting-edge technology solutions that are effective, efficient, and sustainable, rapidly scaling social value using technology.
So the last slide here is that why when we did this, we were able to generate a lot of value because there are so many things here which you could actually take to the business. And that found out to be one of the big things was how do you use blockchain for NGOs. And that whatever knowledge we gained was used in the other context, and we couldn't have learned that unless we did this kind of projects. I think thanks.
I have one question. To add to that, and the paradigm, products and services have always been used in this country. When companies want to do product, develop product at the same time services, and we have seen a number of instances where this product initiative has been killed because of the objective of the organization for short-term goals. So has it not sort of, it seems to be a parallel to that situation, and do you see any lessons learned, or will the same be repeated?
I don't think so, because what's happening since we are living in a multipolar world and there's so many stakeholders, technology is coming out rapidly. Without and it's really not possible for us to survive. That's the reason you can see now everybody is talking about open innovation. Why? Not because it's because it's for their own survival. So corporates are scared about they've been dying off quickly, and you know that Fortune 500 companies now they have become teenagers. That 18 years is the age when maximum they can survive. So they from 61 years in the, I think in the early 60s, it's only 18 years now. So for their survival, they have to opt for and. Without and, I think it's very hard for. That's my experience. Maybe even there are other things, but instead of but it's and.
So yes, even in the graph that you showed, right?
Yeah.
So that green region, it is typically a region of pain, right? I mean, so how do organizations deal with it? Because I thought that was the primary sort of disincentives for organizations to try doing anything with it. But they have to deal with the short-term pain.
So as I said, like I was talking about this earlier thing about the startup coming, and they were actually trying to disrupt us itself. So that is actually a pain point, because organizations are very resilient to changes, and it's a very, very painful. So the idea was that what happens is that most of the companies, the good companies have recognized that, and that's the reason you have organizations like Open Innovation, which is a separate organization by itself, which actually mediates between these two different thought processes and worldviews. So it has to have backing of the CEO. Once the backing of CEO is there, it's not, or else it will get killed by somebody saying probably you are going to impact my empire, so let me kill you. So unless it's backed by the CEO, this kind of initiatives never takes off. So that is the reason you have this kind of open innovation initiative. It's not an initiative, it's a mandate by the CEO to make sure that the organization itself pivots, let's say from a people-centric to a value-centric organization. So we are pivoting, and it's actually painful, but without that pain, there is no gain.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Vishnu. I work for the Nokia CTO's team here in Bangalore, Manila Tech Park. Basically, I'm going to talk about certain, operational challenges. I think I'm qualified because last 20 years I've been working with different universities, including startup ecosystem in those universities, and all across Bangalore and sometimes abroad. Currently I am working with many universities abroad as well, and different parts of India. So a collective experience, and I have certain case studies to discuss as well. All of these are derived from my experience of doing this. So my aim is to tell you about certain challenges as a university which you will face, as an institute that you will face when working with a corporate like us, or any other corporate for that matter, in terms of a joint research. That is what I am going to talk about. It could also be that we have a startup ecosystem in our office. Currently we are setting up something called as a startup garage. So if you are interested, you can talk to me. Also, there also you will face similar situations. You can generalize and apply the same thing as well. These are some of the things. Quick advertisement. Nokia works on university relationships project. We have large variety of projects under joint research. Specifically, this is what we do. So we have joint research topics. Of course, we are a telecom company, and innovation, prototype development, and joint papers, publications. These are all our bread and butter as far as the joint research aspect is concerned. Some of the themes, I mean, this is not really everything, but some of the important themes are, we work on anything which is related to telco challenges, IoT, telco cloud, and so on. So some background where it is these challenges are coming from, operational challenges which I talked about, where it is coming from. Basically, we see that there is a increase in all right. So there is a increasing overlap between policies and industry and academics. So this is the change which we see currently. For example, you can look at things like net neutrality discussion which is happening. There is Europe policies which are happening about policies. At the same time, privacy policies. At the same time, we are talking about slicing, using data which is happening in our network for optimizing and so on, right? So there are two sets of things which are happening. Drones, we are working on drones currently. Some of our projects are on drones. We are trying to do path detections and collision avoidance and surveys and so on. So using drones, but at the same time we have no idea whether we are allowed to do that or not. We cannot test it. The way we test is at night when we take permission from our local security guys. They stand and then we test. That is how we do. And when we ask around, some of our people were telling me, there is this marriage guy who comes to fly drones. You ask him how he does it. So as a technologist, when we try to test these things, these are some of the problems which we come across. We also talk about connectivity and dark fiber availability and so on. This exactly overlaps with the right of way, and at the same time we talk about the interface between our base station and your data center using CIPRI and eCIPRI and so on. So there is a large amount of overlap which is happening in terms of technology, policy, and research which is happening in the academics right now. At the same time, why are we doing all this? We want to do certain sustainable development goals, right? We have poverty, we talked about poverty elimination, fighting diseases, and data analysis so that we get better molecules and so on, right? So that is the sustainable development goals that we have currently. Some case studies, these are derived from my experience. You will face this when we talk to us, and we will face this when you talk to you. So one of the things which I have seen is that departments that don't talk to each other. I mean, they don't talk to each other at all. So for example, this is a live case study. We collaborate with an institute for research. Okay, we come in, we work out things, and this is how we tell them it is interdisciplinary. We have requirements for say let us say studying the strength of materials. Okay, so we need people with com science background, we need research to be done in material science, we need people with communication background, so that all this data can be sent and analyzed. But we ask for support, and nothing happens. Radio silence for 2 weeks. So I call, ask sir what happened, so on and so on. And the HOD of that department is on trial. Call me after 2 weeks. So this goes on, and there is not much progress when we are coming about sitting together and doing the project in the same. I'm not talking about multiple institutes here. It's just the same institute where we have this problem. And how do we address it? Basically, over a period of time, what we try to address is this by starting some sort of a consortium which involves these head of departments, and we sit together, and from the beginning itself we involve them to do some sort of a planning with this, and also split the problem into different flavors so that we can address them based on the the various research which is happening in the institute, so that the stakeholders are on the table right from beginning. So that is one of the things. And uncooled research space. So this is really important. The research has to be cool, so that we have students to actually take it up. That is one of the big problems that we face. So we come into the institute. We want to start from fundamentals. For example, queuing theory. Okay, so we are into communications, right? So we want queuing theory research to be done. We have some fundamental ideas which we want to test it out. It starts with atomic queues, and goes to optimizations and so on. It will later expand to different things like base stations. We'll actually use this queuing theory. That's in our mind. Okay. Now the student comes up, and the researcher comes up and is there 5G in it? Is there an element of IoT in it? Can we do the same project in 5G? That's just the kind of questions which we get. So what I have learned is that there is a aspect of coolness which we have to bring it into this. So what we do to address it, split the problem again into short, medium, and long term issues which we want to address, and sprinkle some cool aspects, like we sprinkle pepper and salt, right? So like that, sprinkle some cool aspects into it, so that the whole thing looks very interesting to the institute. So that's what we do. The greedy approach, this is really important. So we go to the institute, we sit down, we discuss the problem, and we go for tea, and I'm asked the question, how much is there? So I said, sir, I didn't understand. Excuse me. No, the budget, how much it is. So that is the question which is being asked. Now the problem is, I am a researcher, okay? I have to first scope out the problem first. Before that, I cannot talk the budget. First of all, budget is very fluid thing. I'm extremely uncomfortable. But this is an important question. I understand. There are different things involved here. But to start with this is extremely dangerous thing to do. And number of MOUs is a very important criteria for institutes. I think this is total waste of time, but I may be wrong. As a metric to use the number of MOUs is a very dangerous game. I know companies who do MOUs and go ahead. Okay, we are not one of them. We engage with institutes day in day out, hands-on with the students and the researchers. That's what we want to do. Center of excellence. I put a different. I know what I put, but center of excellence is another very, very important place. When are you starting a center of excellence? The question is that you have to ask yourself, what are you asking for? Specific hardware? Instead, the way in the industry is going these days, this is the area of cloud. There is no question of hardware, first of all. Then you are talking about proprietary software. Is that the way we go, and can we address the problems that we discuss using this? My personal opinion, you already know. So the way we address it, we take the money out of the picture. Okay, we tell this is not, this is where we start the discussion. We start the discussion using the technology. Money will come based on the scope of the problem. So that's what we discuss. Substitute money with time. I'm using Linux format, but it's basically substitute money with time. Means that I take the money out and talk about the time which we spend as a researcher along with the institute. That's what we do right now. Neutrality. So this is the time of net neutrality, right? This is not that. This is not that. This means that there is no stand at all. The institute has no stand on the issues which we take. This is really, really bad. So inability to analyze the approaches which are there. Is the intelligence in the cloud or at the edge? Tell me some stand. So there is no stand at all. It could be either way. We could do some analysis. There is no stand at all. Like we cannot do like that. You have to. It may be wrong, but take a stand. There's no idea about what are the other universities are doing, what else is happening in the world. That's what I call as talking about. There is no research pipeline. Show me a pipeline of research which can be done, right? Which can be done in over a period of time. We are talking about 5 years, 10 years, 15 years timeline. Where we are there. We are there to support. I am working in long universities for 20 years. You show me the pipeline of the research which has to be done. How do we do it? We feed. We put people along with it, including me. I am extremely hands-on. I write a lot of code. I write papers. I have 15 patents. I sit with the institute to feed and handhold the research which is to be done in the institute. Push towards a longer term view. This is extremely hard. It's like pushing a truck, but we try. We still try for a longer term. Floating population. This is the next problem which we come across. Don't take me wrong. I understand your set of problems, but this is our problem. Okay? We agree on latest, coolest IoT, 5G. All right. All the paperwork is done. Work starts in the earnest. The fellow actually sits down and does the work. 3 months for initial study. 3 months for further study. Time for student to leave. So what we do is that we put at least one master, somebody who is at least a little bit mature, has done the theory courses at least, and we have one professor who is constantly involved. At least I ask, sir, can you sit with them so that the next floating population comes, at least somebody is there who can handhold, right? And then we have a pipeline of initiatives to go so that we have course, projects and research lined up. The BCB, so the student has exams, campus interviews and events are there. Let us not forget the fest. Fest is really important. I go to the campus and the campus is full of people. I am not able to enter. So I ask the security, what's going on? He says the tech fest is going on. Sir, didn't you know that? There's a DJ, radio DJ. Now I cannot compete with DJ. That's not possible. At the end, there is a need for a certificate. Student has to get certificate. So that is the thing. I sit down with the campus calendar right now. Over a period of long time, I have learned this, to sit down with the campus calendar. And there is a continuous assessment and progress. Weekly, I make sure that the researcher actually does the research report on a weekly basis. This is a very important intellectual property. I know it's an intellectual problem, but it is intellectual property. This is really important. The NDA takes time. It takes a lot of time. MOU takes time. IPR takes cost. There is a lot of discussion. I mean, I am not a lawyer. Okay, I am a researcher. I do research. Now, IPR clause, we have endless discussion over IPR clause to finalize just the IPR clause of the MOU, and the publication clearance, no idea how to do publication clearance. We start early now, and upfront we state the IPR policy of Nokia. If you want, you can talk to me. It's very fair according to me, but that's what we do, right? And there are some other issues like feedback loop, like most of the professors I know they bat for students. My prof batted from me too. Everybody gets an A. So nobody. The reason is Next year, otherwise, nobody will take a Nokia research project. Okay. So, but the thing is, I tell ma'am, we are not bothered. No student, we will go without students. That is how we do it. But that's not the way things work. The industry has no idea how to put the industry guide into the evaluation process. So the loafer gets A and the worker B too gets A. No, we are not to fail anybody. I don't want to fail anybody. But A plus A minus, that differentiation is also, I am coming from meritocracy. You should know, right? What is differentiation? And we use right now internal rewards to interns, to researchers who work with us to actually differentiate. Products which can be built with using interns, yes, it can be done. The day when a structure can be built using hot air, that is not possible. Okay, it's simple myth. Okay, so they can do some research, basic research. They can do read-up, and coding, basic coding can be done. Can be trained. That's why they are there. Okay, we understand. You are students who have to be trained, so we train, and they can never build products. Okay, it's impossible. And the lesson is, do not treat researchers, interns, join people who are working with you from the institute. They are not your employees. That's not possible. Yeah. So this is most important. Industry goes up and down, up and down. Yeah. So it goes up. So some years there will not be any funding, but the technology will not wait. So what do? There will be gap years in the funding, and technology will not wait. So we offer now time and expertise. I told you, substitute money with time. So the same thing we apply here to offer time and expertise. Use the gap year to write patents, join patents, publications, we go to conferences and so on. So this is how we measure success. There is a trilateral collaboration which we are pushing. Industry, startups, academia, public agencies aim to seamlessly move from vertical to vertical to solve these problems like e-health to e-krishi to solve different areas. So that we are able to somehow get this consortium of projects going. And we want to be ahead of global competition. There are India-specific problems that we want to address. If this works out, we should be able to. And a coordinate position and products. I told you about taking a stand and address these development goals like poverty and feeding people and to technological solutions. I'm not talking about CSR solutions. I'm talking about technology solutions to address this. So that's all I have. Any questions? Yeah.
So, wonderful talk. I think I should probably borrow your slides show it to students as well. I've been looking at it from the other end. I've tried so many industry collaborations, partial success, full success, half success, and so on, and pretty much exactly the same problems, but slightly different perspective because going by an academic calendar and the thesis requirements. For example, we had a case where a research student was not allowed to defend his thesis because it was IP protected. Defense is supposed to be a public. So I'm wondering, and I've also almost 10 years ago I've been pushing for we should have a clear-cut structure and model for industry-academic collaboration and the IP structuring in a way that that encourages more and more collaboration, that empowers it. We have something in place, but we have not really tested that out. I think it would be very important to kind of note down some of these, or probably exchange some notes on what are the underlying pain points and how do we build around a very solid, sustainable model for.
Absolutely, it's a very important point. I think if we are to, as a country, if we have to address these issues, then it is really important. I've been there, done that. I mean, these issues, what you are saying, what I put as the intellectuals problem is exactly that. The publication clearance takes time, patent filing takes time. as an industry, we want to do that before the fellows, thesis is published. This have been there, done that, but there is a framework which is possible. I mean, the way to exactly address your question is that we start, I told you, we start with weekly reports. The moment we see an IPR coming 2 kilometers away, as an expert, I can tell you there is an IPR or no IPR. What are the strength of the claims or no strength of the claims? I can tell you 2 kilometers away. So at that time we sit down, fire it straight away, 3 months before, so that we get IPR and the publication. If the fellow is happy, we are happy. There is an IPR policy which Nokia follows that has to be put in the MOUs right from the beginning of the collaboration itself. There are ways to do it. We don't have to invent all this. There are ways to do it. But again, the standardization of the processes, whether we follow it, across campuses, whether it is possible to get this triangle going where you have public agencies on one place, academy on the other, and the industry on the other. And we are also talking about startups, so it's almost like a square. So this picture to go is the problem that I see. Nokia, what we are trying to do is to push a consortium that to bring these actors on the same table. We have this garage for startups. We have University Connect to bring industry and academics together. We have joint projects. I am not new to this campus actually. I work with joint research we are already doing with IIIT currently going on. So these activities are in place. We are trying. This is how Nokia is trying to address these issues, and I believe that it is not specific to Nokia. Anybody could do the same thing.
Doing similarly, Accenture also, they have been working with us.
Yeah.
With Nokia, we just signed the MOU for a joint collaboration
They're
for
not
the
working with
consortium.
startups.
No. With Nokia specifically, it was the university research collaboration. Exactly the same point. Effect of the
Oh, I did.
That was your first signature after you became
I have this question. So you talked about having a stack. I work in the area of telecom policy, and often I find that when I take a position on, say, for example, net neutrality, spectrum, I've been in touch with Qualcomm, all the operators. They don't want to come forward. When I put my stand, it has to be your stand and not our stand, right? Is this India-specific issue? For example, Nokia has been working with Alto University. I mean, I've been interacting with Alto University for quite some time, and the operators work closely with the university researchers, and they have a stand. I mean, is there a problem, especially with India, that they are afraid of the government if we make a point?
I don't get your point, sir. So what
I'm saying is, when we do industry collaboration, the industry backs off when I take a position on a public policy issue. I mean, they don't want to say that, oh, we also support the researcher, and that we go ahead with you. We want to write it together. No.
So the way I address that issue is that to go with a result, okay, go with the joint result. So if you have a pipeline, as I told you, you work on a joint research. Your students are involved, and I am there on the same project, and my inputs go into the research. There is no way the expert can back off. There is no way the industry can back off. Go with the result. That is what I would say. This is happening right now. We were at the cloud consultation. Okay, I don't know how many of the academia startups industry was there, but this is an important point. Net neutrality is an important point. But these are all consultations happening for India right now.
Yeah, good afternoon. With the interest of time, I have not got any presentation because I see Vishnu has already entertained and has already got into that timeline. So I represent a company called 100 Open Startup. It's a open innovation program to help corporations to find innovation outside the boundary, and also to work closely with startups and corporations together, defining a challenge and solving it across. So it was started as an open innovation program at Haas Business School of the Haas School of Business, University of California, Berkeley. And as an open innovation program, Dr. Henry Chesbrough, along with 40 large companies, along with 40 large companies, the goal was to create a structured process to engage with innovation ecosystem worldwide, and then they started a center of innovation at Sao Paulo. So after this was at the year around 2007, and they've been working with 40 corporations, namely like IBM, Accenture, and after running this for 4 years, that is from 2007 to 2011, Dr. Chespro has introduced to a doctor called Saras Saraswati, who was doing a research on why startups are failing. So why there is no success story on that, because as per the statistics, if you see, most of the startups were, 70% of the startups was not able to get success. So that then she got a model called effectuation. So effectuation is nothing but a program where startups are ready to validate their idea early on. So you might have seen that a lot of startups once they get into a product or a product line, they immediately go to the investors. So to change that, this effectuation process, what it does is it validates that program, and it's validate the program and evaluate the idea early on, so that there is no failure at the process, right? So this process has been going on, and in our program 100 Open Startups, because two things which closely being associated is open innovation, and another is effectuation. So how does this work is that the startups develop a process and MVP and go to executives and get the feedback and come back, and again they work on it. So effectuation is basically to validate these ideas through corporates, executives and specialists. So even this is very important for the research institutes also, so that they can get their ideas validated early on before getting into the commercialization support. So this has been going on. Probably we can say this program has disrupted the whole cycle, where startups, after developing a product, immediately go to the investor. So what we have disrupted is that we say that by saying this, we say that build a product, engage with the corporates, and then go to the investors. So that makes more of the value to the startups as well, and even for the investors and corporates. So this has been a huge movement right now, and we are very specific in India right now, very focused on India. And this has been a case study in Katz Schools of Business, University of Pittsburgh, and it's also showcased at 5th conference in effectuation in Dan Business School. So the only effectuation part is so very strong that Indian ecosystem need to get into this whole process, because we see that a lot of unicorn companies are just failing because there's no validation, there's no market fit before they get validated. So the whole process of 100 Open Startup was to bring this perspective, saying that entrepreneurs and startups should get involved with executives first, get this validation done, and then goes for investment. So I would require, I would invite everybody to be part of this program, and to be as an evaluator, and any startups in this program can be part of this 100 Open Startups. As you can get more details on www.openstartups.in. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah, so see, there are 5 levels, so I didn't get into the details, but startup goes through a 5 level. The first level is where they apply for the program, and but at that moment, see, what is happening is that only at the second level the IP protection happens, because the first level is peer-to-peer network, like startups among yourselves will give 4 words, or they validate your idea. So once it gets to the level 2, it's the pure interaction with executives of Accenture, or because how these corporates involved in 100 Rupees startup is they define a challenge. See, suppose we are working on innovative cities, there is a challenge on innovative cities where you can go there and make a apply for a challenge. And what happens at that moment is where you put the entire deck of you online, and then the whole interaction happens.
Does it mean if you're at the level 3 or level 4, you sign an NDA? Or...
Yes, you sign an NDA. So, so as I said, that the process is till level 5. So level 3 is where the curated startups comes in, and there's a lot of interaction between the executives to the perspective of what challenges you have applied for. So,
come with a team where none of the corporates, 30 or 40, doesn't even come in, or they don't even belong to that industry or sector.
No, because that's why I'm saying we have 23 verticals, okay? So there are 23 verticals with different challenges. It's innovative city, future education, well-being, sports, everything. So these challenges have been developed by the executives who are showing interest to work on certain area. Like suppose you are from healthcare, so there are companies who have developed these challenges and they are really wanted to associate and find synergies to work with your startup. So definitely there won't be a chance that nobody would be interested. Because the executives who have developed these challenges are only working with you. So they know what kind of an interest you have and what kind of synergies they can find in with your startup. Thank you. Any more questions?